top of your mouth as possible, you'll feel this part lift up.
Oh, yeah.
So when you do, if anyone's doing Loki, you need that jaw to come out. That's how you do it. Every photo, yes it is Loki, none of you knew, I was just rubbing the top of my tongue against my mouth. Yeah.
Which sounds really weird. While I'm talking to people, I'm just rubbing my tongue in my mouth.
Another one is if you clench your teeth really hard, if you feel these bits of your face here,
Yeah,
you'll feel your
that's
jaw
what I do for man jaw.
tighten out, and that will give you more of an angle.
Pushing your lower jaw out as well if you've got a smaller lower jaw helps. We're just sat here now going.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I agree on my missing something.
Are you done between your
Some proper stage makeup on.
What kind of game?
Yeah?
Yeah, that's about right.
Good. Right, so any other questions about
Any other questions about men?
about men? Any questions about men?
Of course, we are experts on men.
I don't know if you guys experience this problem, but like for male makeup, I have really huge eyelids and I struggle to make my eyes appear smaller without making it like a feminine button.
So you can do dark triangles from the inside of your eyebrows, slanting downwards to your eye pit.
You know when you're doing wing makeup and usually you do a flick going out, so you start small and you get bigger, you
Go in
reverse it the other way.
Do it across.
And if it's not making your eyes look small enough, you can also put dark on the underneath at the bottom corner. So inside top corner, underneath bottom corner will make your eyes look smaller in general.
And again, it's the same with eyebrows. Whenever women get taught how to do their eyebrows, you always get told the thing, if you pluck from the underside, don't pluck from the top side. When you're doing man makeup and trying to make your eyes look smaller, you do the same. You fill in from the underside and try not to avoid the top side, otherwise you're just making your eyebrows go higher up. Now what, Jack? What are we going to learn today?
I've got all my brushes, so I'm using my Dorian eyeliner.
Oh, raspberries.
Cool. So,
I'll wipe them off on my overalls.
so, grease paints. These are a mix of Ben Nye, Krylon, and Mayron. These are some of the most beautiful wheels you can ever get. Some of them are called zombies, some of them are called brews, some of them are called vampires, some are called werewolf.
Old man.
Old man wheel is one of my favourite ones. So yes, you can get all of these. It just gives you such a range of colours for doing horrible bruises, bloody books, everything like that. So Elias has a cut. His nose.
What the heck is going on here?
It's gone.
So for this, you need a knife. You just put your thumb in your paint.
Yep. So what we generally do, this is, as you can see, my most used one. For any sort of cuts and scars, one of the easiest things to do first is to start with like a flesh tone. And obviously you get all sorts of different colour flesh tones. Washing pressure. Done. And then just basically doing thinner and thinner, building it in. Because what most people do is they will just go red, done. Which obviously is not how real cuts of bleachers work. So it goes along in a wheel. This is what colours you want to begin with. No, don't do that.
Trying to see what you're doing.
I need to see what I'm doing.
What camera's doing.
I need to see what I'm
That
doing.
Any questions while those
That's a fair point, isn't it?
Well done for reminding you. So, like, in
Done.
trying starting from sort of under the jawline towards the clavicle. And then you can also shadow around your that.
That's what we're doing.
Make it, yeah, there we go. To make that more prominent as well. There we go.
Okay.
Got Manny next. And we also, if you can see your shoulders, do some more contouring around the collarbone to make that look as well. All of these things are softer and rounder than they are on that. Yes.
How do you keep things like, Alice's tattoo and like get your hands on like the entire
Okay.
Today, apparently, I don't. It's all coming off.
There's a couple of different things. I started with primer to keep all of this on, but afterwards, translucent powder is keeping the fake blood from going everywhere. And magical little sprays, like 24-hour makeup sprays, which never last 24 hours, but they are quite useful. Urban Decay do a good one. It's called L9. Elf do a good one if you want a cheaper one.
In a pinch though, you can use hairspray as well, not something like that.
Stuff like
Not
this,
grease paint.
talcum powder
depends on
also
what paint
works
you're
if
using,
you
it's
have
not
nothing
like-
else around.
And
Not so
you-
much for makeup, but for special events, talcum powder works.
And packs you can actually make with Prozade and acrylic paint. Prozade and acrylic paint mixed together will pretty much. So it's what she uses for Mystique.
In a
Sorry, I was
bind, I
shouting
mix
at
it
my
with
arm.
grease paint or fake blood or anything like that with a powder. Today I used it with eyeshadow for the spring or things I needed. And that just makes it slightly drier and keeps it on. There we go. Translucent powder to keep it on.
This is Kryolan anti-shine powder. This goes with that Kryolan skin crack thing. So this takes away all the shine. So if you're doing it on the stage or anything, it's obviously going to shine. You reading your tattoo.
I'm filling in the gaps,
I'm not done
like
with
paint
you.
by numbers.
I'm not done with your face yet.
It's fine, you can continue.
Stipple sponge is also good for scars, bruises, anything like that. As we showed Jean and Maddie today, they came up to our room and we beat them up, as you can see.
Stand up in the room.
Stand up.
Yes.
Stand up. Stand up.
I like how they're like, oh, okay.
Pretty experienced.
So they came up and like, can you just put some cuts on us? And we were like, no.
We can't put some on you, we can put many.
Yeah. So a lot of people, when they tend to do sort of beaten up or sort of rugged, survival characters, they'll just do their face and then they'll ignore everything else. When you actually think about how you'd be surviving, you'd be getting in the back of your neck, you'd be getting it most importantly.
Don't forget your elbows if they're
And
exposed.
knees.
We have some terrible pictures from a few years ago where we'd all done zombie makeup and we'd forgotten our arms, but they were like huge shreds, and so we looked great, and then there's these huge sort of plain bits of skin. So think about what you'd be putting in the dirt, what would be getting injured.
The first time we did Left 4 Dead costumes, we went rolling around in the garden for a good
Yeah.
hour. There's a video of just all of us just suddenly going. Good times. It was at my mother's house, yes.
And then I chased you with a paintbrush of blood going, I'm going to get you.
I'm gonna get you. He's gonna get you.
Now we're making this. We were like, you were throwing.
You were just stood in the garden on like your neighbours behind us were just like.
I was like, just come. Just come. Put a plastic bag over my face, which don't do it. And she just slung I've got movie, but she just slung it everywhere. It went up the walls, up the windows,
It
in
was
the
on
garden.
the window. I came home from work and it was like someone had died.
It's like trying to cover up a murder, and it stayed there for 3 days until the rain washed it away, slowly getting sort of seeping into the drains. I hope the neighbours can't see this.
That's why the neighbours are
Another use of the stipple sponge. So you've got, if you stipple downwards with it, you're going to get the idea of sort of getting dirt in a wound, and then when you start striking outwards with the sort of edges of it, you're going to start getting scrape effects.
Graze.
Yeah, graze is great.
I said stipple sponge was the #1 thing in makeup kit.
Yeah.
Like everything else you can get any brand or sort of make.
Stipple sponge, quite
Stipple sponge is amazing.
They're like $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so get
No.
smaller stipple sponges for in the top lip as well. Um, you can also get amazing pieces on eBay now, sort of latex wing pieces, which a lot of people, because so many people, if you think I can't make my own latex wing pieces, there are so many sellers on eBay, on Etsy, everything, that just literally churn them out completely. You can get all sorts, you can get crucifixes on the forehead, you can just fill in, you can get all sorts of boils, horrible things.
Gouged eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
A really cheap thing as well is using toilet roll. Toilet roll and latex. Liquid latex.
Oh, I love doing that. Basically, how you would papier, I wish I had some today, papier mâché something. Just put the toilet roll in liquid latex or even PVA glue if that's what you've got. Layer it up on your skin, and then as it starts to dry, rip bits of it, and you've got an instant wound. And you can just paint it onto that, put foundation like this, and you've got like decaying skin.
What about gelatin?
Gelatin, I've never worked with gelatin.
You can use gelatin, and the thing is with gelatin, you can reuse it, so you can melt it again and use it to make another piece. And it's quite good for people who are allergic to latex as well. Another alternative to latex, if you're allergic to it, is silicone pieces. Now,
Gelatin's just not true.
yeah,
Yeah, gelatin's heat activated.
It depends what you're doing and where you are.
Another good thing, especially for zombie things like The Walking Dead. I have a few friends who worked on a few films very close to where we live. They'll use saran wrap, latex that over something, and it just creates this really nasty like old looking
decaying
flesh. It's
shrunken
really
skin.
amazing how quick it just boom on there, airbrushing it, and the next thing you know, you have this really cool.
Another gross one is bubble wrap. If you get bubble wrap, glue that to your skin, coat it in latex so you can blend it into your skin, and then sort of pull some of the bubbles apart. It looks like you've had boils or you've been out in the sun too long and your skin's bubbled and burst in blisters or whatever. It's freaking gross, but it looks really cool. Yeah, that works as well.
It's also easier to use tissues because you can pull the layers apart and have very thin paper, and it also lasts you a lot longer because you don't have to use as many.
Yeah, true.
You guys heard of rigid collodion?
Yeah.
Oh, we love rigid
That's the
Hey.
Yeah, rigid clothing, literally, if no one knows what this is, it's pretty horrible. You can do this with stuff like
Put it on top in a minute.
the nose thing. You can do this if you do with people like Zigbar with his big scars and stuff. What basically happens is you put this on, you leave it to dry, and you will literally see your skin getting pulled inwards, and it will create a scar effect.
One thing to note is that the UK television industry will now no longer use rigid collodion on health and safety grounds because they believe it's not an entirely safe product to use. So if you are going to use it, test it first and make sure you have something that can effectively remove it because it's almost like clear nail polish. It goes on your skin and as it dries, it starts shrinking. Downside is that means it's clinging quite tightly to your skin. And if your skin clings to it very well and then you go to peel it off, the likeliness is you're going to take off some of the top layers of skin anyway. It's the sort of skin that would obviously flake off eventually, but it's enough that it can cause some bad irritation, so make sure you have something that can remove it.
Please God, don't use it near your eyes.
Don't use it near your eyes now.
What do you all use for my on my side scar?
You can get collodion remover. In a pinch, you can also use acetone. You can use acetone to get it off, but acetone does dry out your skin quite badly, so make sure you really moisturise well after doing that.
Oh, something just quickly to go all the way back to the beginning with foundation. Foundation. If you need to make yourself like super albino, sort of white, this is Stargazer white foundation. This is what I use when I do sort of Alexander and stuff like that. If you need to or vampires, all the vampires are wear this underneath. It's just a foundation. You put it on the very bottom, and then you put your foundation on top, and it just takes your skin tone down another level, basically.
I'm just having fun.
You want it?
There's also an amazing cosplayer who's doing weathering and whatnot. He's a British cosplayer called the Weathered King cosplay. Weathered King cosplay. If you're trying to find out how to do details on costumes to look horrible and torn up. And he does Booker, he does Rick O'Connell from The Mummy, he does all these sorts of characters. He looks like Brendan Fraser, it's really freaky. But he shows individual pieces of his costume and how he's made them and how he's weathered them, cheese graters and painted everything. So yeah, Weathered King cosplay, the men's one as well.
Another good one for going along those lines, like weathering your costumes, is Nuclear Snail on YouTube. Yeah, he does,
Nuclear
Nuclear
Snail.
Snail. He does sort of post-apocalyptic stuff, and he shows like how he weathers everything, and it's incredible. So it's really interesting videos to watch, actually.
It's just always good to remember pressure points though on like costumes and makeup. Is to remember like if you are in apocalyptic settings, it's like your knees get battered, your elbows will get battered, your just and in costumes as well. So you're not going to have a costume where you've sort of got a little brown on the knees. You might have ripped them. Anyway, you overly use a lot, and if you're stretching it up, then maybe you've torn the shoulders. It's just on the armpits, just
Probably got dirt on your cuffs.
sweat. Oh my god,
Sweat around
sweat
the
is a
neck,
really
under
good thing to
your
put on costumes because it means you've been wearing it for a while. So just like a yellowy paint, just like
Or
where
a
you
wet
see
tea
people
bag,
always, yeah,
or
tea
like
bags.
some sort of really diluted coffee, anything like that's good for sweat.
Get me down your back, be around here, under your armpits, just anywhere you see people normally sweat. Add it on, it just adds another little layer to the costume as well. It sounds so gross, but it just works.
So worth it.
Everyone knows.
Yeah, just do some squats and then be like, oh, why do I feel hot afterwards? And wipe the tea. You don't want to lean on me right now.
I'm so proud of you.
Anyone else?
Down on this one.
He's so.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, the rest of us.
You get different kinds of stick with sponge swirl. That's just a sort of latex thing as well, which is a completely different surface area.
Hey, buddy.
Hey buddy.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Yay.
Good?
Happy?
Yep.
Done with your face.
Hurrah!
Um, yeah, when Kelly starts her stuff on sort of latex and everything like that, if you guys do have any questions, you think, it's about man makeup or gore or anything, just still feel free to ask.
Cool. Face done.
Sure.
Right, so special effects stuff. Where do we start? Body painting. One of the products we found within the last couple of days, which essentially we used Jack as a test subject for and worked far better than expected. If you want to do any sort of line work or tattoos, we found this stuff in MAC, and it's called body acrylic. Anyone who's tried using acrylic paint before on their body will know that because it's sort of plasticky, it kind of peels off really easily, and it's not that great. This stuff, Jack has been showering every day, and it still shows up on his feet.
Since Thursday.
Since Thursday.
When I did Fenris, if any of you saw the artwork I did for Fenris, all the lines and all lines.
So yeah, this stuff is probably going to be our new favourite stuff for tattoos and things now. And because it is acrylic based, it goes on quite thick and the colour stays up very well. So that's a really good thing. Oh, it's getting in now. So that's a really good new product we found. The one thing I hear a lot of cosplayers saying is don't use Snazaroo. Snazaroo is cheap, it doesn't work, blah, blah, blah.
Rubbish.
Anyone who says that doesn't know how to use Snazaroo properly is what I've come to learn. You having fun?
Yeah, it's mixed in with my other stuff.
Nice. I did, for anyone who knows Star Wars Extended Universe, I have cosplayed Darth Talon, who is red from head to toe with black tattoos all over her. I did that done as a full body paint. I had it done by a professional makeup artist who happened to be on hand at the time and offered. And she showed me how to use Snazaroo properly. She said the more expensive brands are great because they need less water in them and they go on thinner. But Snazaroo will work for pretty much anything you need cosplay-wise. And the tip she gave me is never dip a sponge or a brush into water when you are using Snazaroo, because you pick up too much water, and the more water you put on your paint, the easier it will come off, because it's activated by water. So if there's water still in your paint when you put it on, the second you get wet, or you sweat, or someone slightly damp touches you, it reactivates it again, and that's when it comes off. So what she suggested to me is get a small spray bottle, so any sort of spritzing bottle, ones you use for plants, we get them for travel, they do little travel kits where you can put your own makeup into them. Get those, you spritz it maybe once or twice at a distance, just so you can see the surface moisten. Use your sponges and brushes then, and only when it's so dry that you're not picking up any more paint and you're not putting more paint on, that's when you start respraying it. And she carried around a tub of it for the day just to make sure I didn't rub any off. The only places it came off is where clothing was touching, and that will happen with just about any paint. It's very difficult to get around. So Snazzaroo, it's cheap and it can work as long as you know what you're doing, and now you do. Water-based, because it is a water-based paint, it means that you can use something as cheap as hairspray to seal it. Whereas this is all grease paint, this is oil-based, so anything liquidy you spray on top of it, that will sit on top of the makeup and just pool there. It won't actually do anything to help. So with water-based, anything that you use water to mix the paint up, you can use sealing sprays, Cryolan do a really good spray, which is a fixing spray, and it's an aerosol. And the good thing about it being an aerosol is it goes on at a very fine mist, whereas pump bottles are less reliable, and you can sometimes see small splodges where more of the product has gone on there than else. One, please. One. I'm so glad not everyone understood. Whew. We good? Cool. For grease paint, like Jack's been using, translucent powder is the best because it essentially creates a physical barrier on top of the makeup. So when someone touches you, they're touching the layer of powder and hopefully rubbing off the layer of powder, not your paint. The good thing about grease paint as well is that when you sweat, the sweat will either stay underneath it, which is gross, or it comes through the paint and just sits there on top of it, which is also gross. However, it doesn't wash it off, which, wow. It looks like we've been out here doing coke. This is awesome. We're never getting invited back. Cool. If you're doing makeup that absolutely must stay on and you do not want to risk it coming off, the best there are two products you can use, one being expensive, one less so. Alcohol body inks are the first one. If anyone's ever gone to fairs and had airbrush tattoos done on, which stay on for several days, it's more than likely they used alcohol ink.
It's what's covering my tattoo right now.
There you go. Oh, wow, you've covered your tattoo. That's cool. The reason alcohol body inks stay on so well is because in place of water, they use alcohol as the activator. Alcohol obviously evaporates extremely quickly, which means the paint dries quickly, and you need a remover to get it off. In this case, more alcohol. And because people aren't generally sweating alcohol when they hug you, it means your paint's less likely to come off on them. And if they are sweating alcohol, you probably don't want to be touching them anyway. It can be quite expensive. You guys are quite lucky because you have Real Creations, which is an American company over here. They make really good alcohol body inks, spelled R-E-E-L, like a movie reel. Their stuff is really good. It's not cheap, but it works. The cheaper option, which is slightly less comfortable, but you having fun there? It's not coming off.
Looks like a vein, so I'm just rubbing it. You can
Nice.
colour it apparently.
Learning. Option 2 is something called Pax paint. You can buy it professionally made. I would say don't bother, it's not worth the money because they overcharge like hell for it. Pax paint is prosthetic adhesive, also known as Prozaid in the industry, and acrylic paint mixed together as a 50-50 mix. You can edit that however you need to edit it. And when you put it on, like prosthetic adhesive, it dries on you, and prosthetic adhesive does not come off with water, it does not come off with sweat. You have to basically rub it off with remover or baby oil, and people can do full body makeup in that and be wearing clothes and sit down in full body makeup, hug people, and this stuff does not come off. You can shower with it on, you can go out in the rain with it on, and it still won't come off. The only places it may do is on the same as any paint, places where your skin creases and touches itself, and if you've got very tight-fitting clothing, if it's rubbing off the skin, it's going to be rubbing off your paint as well. So that stuff is fantastic. I've done a sari makeup in that and have been stuck in a bathroom for almost 45 minutes afterwards, desperately trying to get this stuff off. You okay there? Just checking out my arm. Cool. So that stuff is absolutely great. It's also really good if you're using latex appliances. So we both did Asaris, me and Tina, was that last year? Yeah. And the good thing is because it's got Prosate in it, which Prosate can be used to help blend, can help blend prosthetics into your skin anyway. It means you're both painting and blending at the same time. And unlike using latex as a blender, latex goes quite shiny as it dries. This stuff. What you doing there? Okay. Prosate doesn't. It does stay sticky because that's the nature of the product. Is you're meant to do it on your prosthetic and on your skin, and then you stick the two sticky surfaces together and they bind to each other. So when you're doing it as a packed body paint, you need to get some of this translucent powder and powder yourself all over to cover it. If you're doing white as your body colour or tattoos or whatever it is you're doing, regardless of what makeup you're using, talcum powder is really good to seal it because it makes you look even whiter. You want me burning you?
Burning you.
Oh, thanks. It's what I always wanted, to be burned on stage. Someone asked a question, was it prosthetics? Someone asked about earlier, I can't remember.
Someone asked about prosthetics.
Oh, what was the question on prosthetics?
Just, do you use them, and how much do you use them in your makeups?
We don't use prosthetics. You
I
use
do
them for glass skin.
Any glass skin. I've got a side piece for any glass skin that I use.
Yeah, for big burns and things like that, it's quite a good idea to get something like that because it does mean you can peel it off at the end and reuse them. With latex prosthetics, always check first if you've never used them before. Paint some latex on yourself in like the crook of your arm or near your neck, somewhere where the skin's quite sensitive, because that's the way you're going to know if you've got a latex allergy. The last thing you want to do is put a latex prosthetic on half your face and then find out later in the day that you've got a latex allergy and you peel it off and find that your face looks the same underneath. I have seen some horrible pictures of people who found out they had latex allergies that way, and it's really not pretty. You can also get ones which are made from foam latex, which is really like, it's almost like, it feels like a sponge. It feels like the makeup sponges that you use to put makeup on. And, they're really good because they blend a lot easier with your skin. You can squidge them a bit more and there's a bit more give to them. Generally, when we do small prosthetics, we make our own the same way these guys were explaining earlier with things like tissue and things, because it's so much cheaper and you can make it work to what you need to do. You just keep feeling me and poking me.
It's like, messed up arm? Okay, arm.
This arm's doing fine. This arm I hide behind my back as I fight zombies, apparently.
Protect the tattoo.
I've lost my train of thought. One of the big downsides to buying pre-made prosthetics, especially ones for the face, is that they're generally made by Halloween companies and things that do one size fits all. And they generally assume that the people who are going to be wearing these are dudes with big faces. For us women with smaller faces, or dudes with smaller faces, that means that they often come up quite a bit bigger than expected. So bear that in mind. If you have a very small face and you are doing something that's a large face prosthetic, take it out the packet, but put it on a clean face and hold it there with your hands before doing anything with it, because it's entirely possible that it won't fit you.
Even the Asaris, there's still a big gap.
Yeah, our Asari headpieces are obviously made for women to wear because it's a female costume and they were made by a woman on a woman's headpiece, and they're still too big for our small ass heads. Hey, ass heads, that's us. So always check that sort of thing first. Any questions? I usually have a PowerPoint with this, so I'm like, what else do I talk about? Yeah.
Yeah, like what you were saying, so if the latex piece ends up being too big, is it kind of cut it?
Yeah, you can trim them down just with scissors. It's a bit hit and miss because most of them are made so that towards the edges of the latex it gets really thin. And obviously, if you're going to cut it, you're cutting that away. But you can then stick it to yourself and make your own edge by layering up latex little by little. And if you use a hairdryer on cool setting, it will help it dry faster. It's horrible to peel off. That was a point. Latex body paint. I always put this in as don't ever use it. Loads of places sell it. Halloween places are really big on selling latex body paint around Halloween time. It's the most horrible stuff ever. It doesn't look like skin when it dries because it dries really rubbery. It also shrinks a bit on your skin, so it makes you look really wrinkly.